Well, let's welcome in Arvind Sanger, who's with us, Managing Partner at Geosphere Capital Management. Arvind, good morning. Good to have you with us here. Thank you very much for joining us. How much more do you think, Arvind, after the weekend election results, and of course, I mean, the global stuff, which we've already spoken about the last time you were on, but I think that got reinforced expectations of the peak rates in the US were reinforced by Fed Chair Powell last Friday. So it's a pretty positive, constructive kind of environment. The end of the year, it's seasonally a strong a time for stocks globally. Is this likely to extend? And of course, the market here in India has been the strongest.
Well, I mean, it's been a great year for a lot of markets. The U.S. NASDAQ is up almost 37, 38%. Obviously, the Indian market has been one of the best performing markets in the world once you get past the U.S. And I think the fundamentals for India, if the U.S. headwind from an FII standpoint of the headwind of higher rates is now behind us, and it's a question of, how quickly and how long does that take for the Fed to turn the other side, then that, removes one big reason for FIs not to be investing in India or other emerging markets. So that's another positive. But I think the growth story and with this election, it's clear the political outlook for 2024 is for very much continuity, which investors like and are makes it more comfortable. And I think the Indian growth story remains pretty intact, and therefore I don't see an obvious lie in the ointment. But as you were talking earlier, things look extremely overbought short term. So purely from a very short term tactical standpoint, I'm not sure what will happen. We never know what will happen, but there will be something that causes some profit taking, some pullback. So to the extent that investors are, in the short-term trading mindset, then it's careful not to get too euphoric and to be patient on pullbacks. But in terms of the long-term investors like ourselves, we don't see anything in India that is a fly in the ointment. I still remain cautious about U.S. whether or not we're going to have the Goldilocks, no recession, or whether we will have a recession. I must admit that I've been wrong in thinking that a recession was imminent, but it's not a done deal yet. But any mild recession does not affect India too much. So therefore, the India story looks very solid.
Hi, Arvind. Good morning. Good to see you in. Arvind, what about your approach? If you're going to have continuity at the center, that'll be good news for particularly public sector companies, because some of them have turned around and have turned around in style. You were early on the couple of those names. I recall you telling us about the power demand and how you're playing that theme. You stay invested, or do you think at some point of time you'll start trimming those positions?
No, I think the public sector's theme is not. The power sector theme is something we like.
Yes.
Obviously, a lot of the large plays in that, whether it's an NTPC or it's a Coal India or it's an NHPC line in the public sector. So yes, that's one area to play. But I think the domestic stories in terms of demand in various areas, whether it's engineering companies or it's companies that are in consumer goods, or it's companies that are in the domestic healthcare. I know a lot of people think of Indian pharma industry as being outward facing. We find inward facing companies, whether it is in regularizing the drug sales in terms of organized retail in pharmaceuticals, or it is in domestic healthcare. We think that's another theme that is going to be very powerful in the coming years. So there's a lot of themes that are still early that are there, and power remains an area that looks very intriguing.
All right. The pharmaceutical domestic healthcare theme is something that you like over and above the power sector that you just spoke about. Arvind, thank you for joining in. A quick chat, but insightful nevertheless.